Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is a very exciting interview for me today. I'm joined with Bryce Remsburg, AEW referee. Bryce, man, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much for having me, Jake. It's great to hear you. It's great to hear your lovely accent this early in the East Coast Pennsylvania morning. Thanks for supporting AEW, and thanks for thinking of me, my friend.
Of course. So I'm just going to come on. We don't have a lot of time. Very busy man, but I just want to quickly chat and get to know some things, because as a fan, as I mentioned, I'm a massive AEW fan. Me and my flatmate, we watch every week. We're up till 3 a.m. without fail, except for that month in the year when the clocks have changed, but it's a different change, so it's only up to 2 a.m. and that's brilliant.
Okay.
But first of all,
what's your flatmate's name?
His name's Emmett.
All right, tell him I said hello, please.
I will do. But first of all, I want to ask, where did the decision come from for your outfit for the main event of Revolution?
That was a collaborative effort between Tony Khan, Kenny Omega, and myself, and we have a special shoot coordinator by the name of Charlie Hardiman. So he was kind of going back and forth with Tony. There was some talk about a legitimate hazmat suit, like the bright yellow. You can picture like the Devo video from the early 80s. And those are a lot harder to come by if you're just a commoner, apparently. So that was kind of the compromise intersection. I was pretty convinced I wouldn't be able to move in one of those.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite hard to get down for the pinning.
Right. So this was kind of a compromise of the. I also needed to not have my mouth covered in case I needed to communicate something, in case emergency or whatever. So this was sort of a compromise of all serving all the masters. It is kind of a thicker protective version of a painting smock, sort of, with an extra protective layer involved, and then the shield as well. There was talk about auctioning it off for charity, but it turns out, lo and behold, you can't auction anything off that has blood on it. So I guess that's a good rule.
Suppose.
And but the shield has been saved for the AEW archives, and very possibly one day will be autographed by Mox and Kenny and auctioned off for charity. So it is in a safe place at Daly's Place right now.
Fair enough, because I mean, when I saw you and I loved it. It made me so happy.
I do remember when I first put it on and walked in and showed Mox and Kenny, their eyes lit up. They were in different rooms, obviously, but their eyes lit up and they were like, "This is perfect." Like Kenny was sort of the mastermind of the ridiculousness of that all. Kenny's a guy that has wrestled a blow-up doll in DDT and has been part of all kinds of these wrestling ridiculousness in his past. So he was the mastermind behind it. He was pleased with the final result. Everyone was happy with how I looked, and it kind of added to the preposterousness of the proceedings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, what was it like, being in the middle of that? Because we were watching it, and obviously on one hand, you've got as you say, the preposterous nature of Kenny Omega at his most free. And then you've got Jon Moxley, who he's just there for a fight. Sometimes he doesn't wrestle, he's just there to fight, and he doesn't care. So what was it like being in the middle of all
that? A really weird mix of being a little bit scared, a little bit excited, and a little bit honored. I have always, in my almost 19-year refereeing career, always been proud to say that whenever there was a new challenge, I wanted to be the one to do it. Refereeing ladder matches, casket matches, Iron Man matches, 4-way matches, 6-way matches, 8-way matches, 16-man tag team matches, whatever it would be. I always wanted to be the one to do it, so I could, have a deep wrestling referee resume. So when the opportunity came to be the only American referee ever to officiate an exploding ring barbed wire match, not only is it in a major American promotion, it's on pay-per-view, it's the main event, and it's for the world title. That is a very specialized, thing I can put on my resume. And it was the same week I refereed for Shaquille O'Neal somehow. I don't know how this all happened for me.
I was going to say
it was one of the craziest weeks of my life. So I don't portend to write the professional wrestling book of world records or fun facts, but I feel fairly certain I will be the only human being in the history of pro wrestling forever and ever to referee for Shaquille O'Neal and an exploding ring barbed wire match for the world title on pay-per-view within the same calendar week.
Because I was going to say that was a very a very, I suppose chaotic might be the best way to describe that week in AEW. I loved it. I think the Dynamite was great. The pay-per-view was great. But, I mean, we started with Shaquille O'Neal hitting that wonderful powerbomb and going through the tables.
In between those two events, I went home for a couple days and had my son's 5th birthday party on Zoom. So I just a weird thing about that week I'll never forget. It was one of the strangest and most rewarding weeks of my entire life. Never to be touched again.
I can't imagine anything coming close to the insanity of that.
Yeah, if I become I spontaneously combust today, I will always have that week always happened for me. So I got that going.
Fair. So speaking of refereeing an intense blood feud like you did at the pay-per-view, what was it like being in there in the middle of the heated battle between the Invisible Man and his evil twin brother? How did you control it? How were you able to contain it?
Very carefully. It was another surreal night of my life and career that people still talk about 2 years later, which is very flattering. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. The real stars in that room were the crowd that you could actually see. If the crowd that night in Jersey City, New Jersey, were not on board for this, we're not along for the ridiculousness, the storyline that Joey Janela and GCW created, it would have been a long night for me. And instead of 8 or 10 minutes, it probably would have been 2 or 3 minutes. But the fact the crowd was reacting, they were along for the ride, they were a part of the action, made my job and my night a lot easier. I don't know how I did it. There was a lot of tension in the air. One of them might have a switchblade. Who's to say?
We don't know.
Chaos. Right. We'll never know. I'm glad to have lived to tell the story.
So I was thinking, because it's up on YouTube, and I showed it to my girlfriend, who she kind of like.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I was watching it, and she looked up and saw. I was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the Invisible Man. He's wrestling his evil twin brother." And she was like, "Right, okay, back to doing college work." And she looked up every few seconds and just. It's not that she doesn't like wrestling. It's just I love real silly things in wrestling, and she kind of she loves
that is niche of niche. That is very specialized.
The only real silly person that she likes is she loves Orange Cassidy, but apart from that, but all the silly stuff she'll sometimes look at me and be like, "Oh." But with that night, because I've not seen the whole show, but where in the card was that place? Because you have to put it on maybe a little bit later to get people loosened with a drink.
It was in the middle, but towards the end. I feel like it was maybe 3 or 4 from maybe third to last or so. I do remember the drinks were definitely flowing in Jersey City that night. That is kind of a spring break tradition. Wherever spring break goes, a liberal atmosphere of imbibing follows. I do remember that the match after it was Orange Cassidy versus Taka Michinoku, which is another crazy spring break match. But I remember coming back through the curtainway and waiting, and Orange Cassidy was waiting to go out, and he was like, essentially in his own Orange Cassidy way, said, "I don't know how we're going to follow that." And it was very flattering. It was very flattering to come from him. So it was something else. Another night I'll never forget.
Yeah, definitely. To bring it back to AEW, when did you get the call that you would be reffing for them full time, and how did that come about?
I started freelancing when AEW. I got the call to do Double or Nothing from the Young Bucks. Way back in maybe 2008 or 9 or 10. The Young Bucks used to come out east to Chikara to do. They were the Chikara Tag Team Champions, and I used to pick them up at the airport, take them to the hotel, take them to get food, and we developed a friendship. And then when All In came around, I was, working at my desk job. I was a pharmaceutical advertising associate. I was, wrestling on the side, but it was not my full-time thing. And I messaged my friends, the Young Bucks, and if there's a way I can be a part of this All In, I'd love to be a part of it. And they said, "Well, we're kind of doing this with Ring of Honor. We don't have any spots right now, but just stay tuned. We'll keep you in mind." Little did I know what was coming. And then when AEW started, they said, "Hey, right before AEW was announced, they messaged me and said, 'We can't tell you everything right now, but please put this date aside.'" And it was the date of the first Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, which I'll never forget, May 25th, 2019. And I did Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. I was signed up to do All Out in Chicago. This is still, I don't have a contract, just freelancing, getting paid per appearance. And then I got added to come to the summer and do an event in Daytona Beach, an event in Jacksonville. And then as we were gearing up for TV, I was offered a contract. It changed my life. I quit my job. I signed 2 contracts, as a matter of fact, that I still have. Was one as a performer referee and one to work in the office. I help manage the travel department, hotels, flights, shuttles, car service, a lot of logistics. Sometimes I deal with ratings analysis, state athletic commissions, just kind of a catch-all in the office. I still work from home, but I do, even when we're not on the road, we're not traveling, I'm doing work for AEW. So I signed both of my contracts on the same day. I have since renewed them for another 2 years, and I am, I can't say it's my dream job because I couldn't have even dreamt this job existed 3 years ago. I couldn't, if you said, what's your dream job? I couldn't have even pulled this from my wildest dreams. So I think every day and acknowledge how lucky I am, and I love my life. I love my job. I'm very, very fortunate. I get to travel the world, do what I love. I've met all these cool people. I get to share the ring with world-class talent, John Moxley, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, who I idolized growing up, Darby Allin, you name it, Orange Cassidy, whatever it may be. Like I've always, one of the reasons I started to be a referee is I was never athletic, but I always realized that I would have a better than front row seat for pro wrestling matches, which I love dearly. And, I've had a better than front row seat for thousands of pro wrestling matches, but now the level of the matches that I get to referee are, there's more pressure, it's higher stakes, everything, it's all elite. And I will never not be fortunate and thank all of my lucky stars for what I do and what I have. And, if it ended tomorrow, I'd be fortunate forever. So I'm very, 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 very lucky.
I was thinking as well, because obviously you ref in Chikara, and whenever I think about just the madness of AEW, I think about Eddie Kingston on Talk is Jericho, and he said it's like walking around the Chikara locker room and oh wait, there's Chris Jericho. Like it's
crazy. It's so crazy. Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, the late great Brodie Lee.
In fact, you mentioned Brodie Lee. I have a bunch of old Slam Attacks trading cards that my mum found.
That's awesome.
And I've only put one up so far, and it is this one, and it sits right above my desk.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
It's the only one I've hung up. The rest I'm going to stick up eventually, but I've got it right here.
Take good care of that. That's awesome. That's
I kind of want to get like a little case for it and just keep it in a little.
No, that's great.
In a little thing. I need to ask you about Brodie Lee because as a fan, unfortunately, I will never have the honor of meeting him. But after everything that happened, everyone all over wrestling just immediately came out with this outpouring of love, and you saw the Being the Elite one entirely dedicated to him, and you hear all these stories, but everyone in AEW has a story about him just showing up and giving someone 30 seconds of his time to tell someone in a dark match that you were really good, but you should maybe do this. What's the transition been like around everything now that obviously he would have been involved in some plans long term and stuff? Obviously, the Dark Order have moved to become more heroic, but what's it been like, dealing with that in the company?
I don't know. It was like it is, an awful, terrible tragedy, but we all went through it together. So like for all the awfulness and heartache it really brought us together. And Cody Rhodes texted me every day the week after Brodie passed away to check on me because he knew I wasn't doing great. Now and I feel closer to Cody since then. It was kind of the first true tragedy we all went through together, and it made us closer. And I don't feel uncomfortable saying that. And forever, Amanda, Brodie's wife, and both of his kids, they will forever and always be welcome backstage at AEW. They stay at the hotel with us, like they're part of the family. And that maybe is, of all the gifts Brodie gave us, that might be the last one he was truly able to share with us. He definitely brought us all closer, and no one would ever want to go through that ever again. But luckily we had each other and went through it together. And that television show, the night in honoring of Brodie on December 30th, that's forever.
Yeah, that's for me.
When little Brodie, right, when little Brodie and his brother grow up, they're gonna have that forever. His wife Amanda has that forever. Like that is, a glowing tribute to a man that they loved and we all love, that was on national television, that exists forever. And I think that's pretty cool for everyone involved. I was honored and pleased to be a part of it, and I'm just so glad it exists.
I know.
So, yeah,
sorry.
we had this. No, it's okay. We had this moment last September, shortly before Brodie got sick. Actually, we all got tickets. We had a day off in Jacksonville, but there was a Jaguars game, so Tony very nicely hooked us all up with like free tickets and in the catering in the suite area at the Jaguars game. And it's all you can eat, all you can drink, and it's me, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Eddie Kingston, and Brodie Lee are just kind of standing in a circle, just having a moment like, how did we get here? How did this happen? How did we all where we've all been, changing in closets and sleeping in cars and all this, being tired at our real jobs and missing our families and all that good stuff. And like, this is our job now. This is our life. And it just, I never forget to appreciate that. And we had a really lovely moment, the five of us, to appreciate that together. Just be like, this is it. We're here. These are our lives now. And all four of them, Chuck, Orange, Eddie, Brodie, they all earned it. They all deserved it, in my opinion, and do deserve it. So yeah, it's crazy moments like that I will take with me forever. And I was, close with Brodie years ago. I met him in 2005 or 6. And then when he signed with WWE in 2012, I would talk to him here or there, but we definitely lost contact. And I'm just personally and selfishly so fortunate that he was able to, come to AEW and come back to my life, even though it was for 6 or 7 months or whatever it was, just to see him at work every week and talk about our kids and our wives and catch up, and just an incredible, incredible feeling. And I feel so blessed that I was able to share more moments with him and reconnect with his wife, get to know his kids, all this good stuff. I told -1 I have to keep refereeing long enough to referee his first match. So
I was going to say, is -1 as nuts as
he's nuts. He's a wild card. He's a true wild card. I've never met a kid like him. He has the sarcasm that his dad has. It's unbelievable, and it's just a delight to see him around.
You hear all the stories. I know that TJ Wilson was on Chris Van Vliet's show, and he said that he's like kind of, they go into like theirs, and he's like sort of showing him the ropes, and like he was doing a little match with him. And then
he's literally showing him the ropes. He's
like, and TJ was like, he got me in the corner, and I was like, okay, this is fun. And then he like tripped him without telling him, hit the ropes, then like drop kicked him in the corner with no notice.
He's a wild card. He'll tell people their performance was sloppy. I've had to tell him to calm down when he's outside the ring. Like, you gotta calm down a little bit, dude. Like, you're all over the place.
Like, you hear the stories, and then it's not. They're not that you're thinking they're not true. Then you see like on someone's like Instagram story or something, and he's just there, and he's like got Marco Stunt in a headlock, and you're like, oh, okay, these are all. There's no embellishment.
No. He's 9 years old. What you see is what you get. He doesn't have a filter. He doesn't have there's no like performance bro. Like that's that kid. And this is an unimaginable tragedy struck him at 8 years old. And the least we can do is, when I was 9 years old and you told me I got to, manage on a pro wrestling show and, commentate and be a part of, like, that's like going to space camp. That's
the dream. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So if we can do that for this kid, that's the least we can do. So I can't wait till he's 18 and he's wrestling and I'm refereeing his matches. I cannot wait.
I can't wait. I guess just before we wrap up, I want to talk about AEW and the traveling. Obviously, AEW has now existed. Well, Dynamite at least has existed for longer. Stationary than it has a traveling show.
Much longer.
And I think it's actually in a weird way to Dynamite's benefit, because there wasn't an identity forged with the product in the way that it was with WWE. Early empty tapings WWE didn't really land for me, because usually where people would like hit a move and like do a taunt and then like soak in a bit of cheers before going for their next move, they'd still be doing it, and it was just totally empty. And I think obviously the call to put performers outside the ring to sort of simulate a crowd was good. But do you think it's going to be a weird transition getting back on the road whenever the world opens up again?
I think it will be like riding a bicycle. It will feel strange because it feels different, but then it will feel normal again, because so many of our performers have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years. You know, Frankie Kazarian, Chris Jericho, Christopher Daniels, Cody, you know, these guys doing it 10, 15. So while Dynamite's identity is, you know, 30% in arenas, 70% in Daly's place, these guys' careers, you know, it's 95% or 97% in arenas and 3%, 5% in arenas. So I know several of the very high up members of our roster are chomping at the bit and cannot wait till it's safe to get back on the road again. And it will feel different because it's, you know, not Daly's place, but I don't think it'll feel strange. And I think once it's safe to pack arenas, hopefully eventually when it's safe, you can come to shows without masks. You can see faces, smiling faces. The vaccination spread over here, which is going pretty well as of now. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but yeah, I think it's going to be a euphoric, exciting day. And I know as much as we love Jacksonville, as great as Jacksonville has been to us for the last 14 months at this point, there are a lot of smiling faces in a lot of other cities that we need to go see here pretty soon. So hopefully by August or September, so we'll be back on the road seeing smiling faces.
Definitely. And I guess selfishly, my final question is, when you guys do come over to the UK and Europe, can you ask Tony Khan to do Dynamite in the Hydro instead of somewhere in London? Because the Hydro in Glasgow is amazing. Well,
I will tell you that Tony Khan is very familiar with the United Kingdom as he owns a soccer club over there. I don't want to get into absolutes and finites, but I don't want to speak for Glasgow specifically, but the UK in general, I would say it's when and not if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing as well, because
we need some settling to happen in the world. We need travel to open up. So I don't know that it's going to be this calendar year of 2021, but I would say it is on the to-do list for 2022.
It's weird because, you know, the UK, obviously, it's not the UK and you know, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales. It's not big, you know, there's many states in America, you know, 10 times the size of all of them.
Sure.
But for it's weird how many big wrestling cities there are.
Oh, yeah. No,
Glasgow's huge, Edinburgh's huge, Dublin's huge, Manchester, London, Cardiff. They're all big wrestling places.
And this is much smaller scale, obviously, but Chikara did the Garage in London, the Garage in Glasgow, I think. There's a Garage there. Cardiff, Wales, Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle we did once, and just the energy is just, it's off the charts. People
all big wrestling cities.
They're so excited to see you, and you're so excited to see them, and the tide in the whole room rises, the performance rises, the fans rise, and it's just. And
that's one of those things you hear. You hear people in America and they're like, "Oh, I drove 8 hours because no wrestling comes near me, and I wanted to see this guy." And I'm like, I go up the road maybe an hour to Edinburgh or an hour on a plane to Dublin. There's so much in such a small space. So I'm very excited for AEW. I've been in Scotland and Wales very briefly. I've never been to Ireland. I would love to come to all these places. I'd like to bring all my All Elite friends with me. So hopefully, like I said, when and not if, and we can put a handshake with the face here, Jake. And I'd love to see you at an AEW show. Definitely. Well, I'll definitely be there when you come. So Bryce, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for your time. Sorry we couldn't chat longer, but I really appreciate having me.
Don't be daft. This video will go out on Wednesday. Tonight is Blood and Guts. So if you would like to promote away AEW, Blood and Guts, your own stuff, let the people know.
Yeah. Blood and Guts might be a little on the TV-14 end of things. If you have some smaller kids or some squeamish friends, maybe this isn't the place to get on. But there's a lot of exciting things coming in the pipeline. And, of course, we're in May now. May's Double or Nothing month. Double or Nothing on pay-per-view worldwide. Sunday, May 30th, which is a holiday weekend here in the U.S. I believe it's a bank holiday weekend in the U.K. as well.
Today's the bank holiday, I think. Today's the bank holiday over here. So.
Never mind. Anyway, it's going to be great. Enjoy it. I know it's weird times over there. We appreciate you staying up and adjusting with us. And it's Dynamite every Wednesday. And my Twitter is @TheBryceIsRight. My Instagram is TheBryceIsOftenRight. And come interact with me on there. And again, like I said, hopefully sooner than later, we'll be seeing faces at shows that are not in Jacksonville.
Right, Bryce. Thank you so much for coming on.